So our first presenter is Bethany Conway from Newcastle University, United Kingdom, who will be presenting minimizing farm loss and maximizing output in an ethically and environmentally responsible way. But before Bethany starts, let's all give her a round of applause. This is a tradition from our symposium.
Yeah. And I would say if you, we're going to keep muted for most of the time, but if you want to unmute for these applauses, please do that. And you can do that right now. Go ahead and unmute around the world. Bethany, we are so grateful for what amazing presentation you're going to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bethany.
Thank you.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Bethany Conway. I am a MRes student here at Newcastle University, and I'm studying agricultural sustainability and food security. And today's presentation will be on minimizing farm loss and maximizing output in an ethically and environmentally responsible way. And if it isn't given away by the background, we're going to be focusing on the dairy industry because that's what I do. So yeah, so we're going to look at base this around my project that I'm doing for my master's, which is looking at the impact of different grazing systems on productivity, welfare and behaviour within the dairy industry. I'm comparing rotational grazing versus mob grazing, and this is predominantly to look at mob grazing. This is quite a fashionable grazing system at the moment. It goes by many different names around the world, and there's limited research actually into it. It's become quite popular without sort of the basics. So we're looking at measuring milk productivity and grazing efficiency, and also assessing animal welfare and behaviour through lameness, mastitis and rumination behaviour. And I'm looking particularly at early lactation cattle. Yeah. So what is mob grazing? Mob grazing is when you graze a small area at high density for a short period of time, and then that's usually between 12 and 24 hours. Can be up to 3 days, but that's unusual. And then you rest the grazing pasture for anything up to 3 months, but a minimum of a month. So it gives the time for vegetation to come back to sort of to regenerate. I've lost my English today. Why are we interested in this? It's become very liked by the environmental side of agriculture. It's supposed to mimic natural systems, increases soil health and has greater organic matter. So the map that you saw was one of our farms, Nafferton. We have 2 mob grazing trials going on, one at our dairy farm and one with at our other farm at Cockle Park. This is Nafferton, and these are our mob grazing trial fields. And the squares that just came up, if you go back again, there you go. That's kind of the system. So the smaller squares on the left are the mob grazing, and on the right, that's the rotational grazing. And as you can see, the size difference is you know, there's a very highly densely packed grazing system. There'll be 40 in each of those squares. Yeah, if you next slide. So to do this, I'm using something called Roomy watch head collars. This is a fairly new piece of tech that's been validated for research just in the last 4 or 5 years. This is a typical head collar, kind of like you'd put on a horse, but it has pressure sensors on the jaw, which allows you to measure field behaviour such as rumination and calculate efficiency of energy conversion from the grass into milk production. Yeah. So why we're doing this and how does this relate to SDGs? I've put up 4 SDGs here that there are relations to, but the main one really is SDG 12, which is responsible consumption and production. We're trying to most use the land that we have most efficiently, whilst also considering the surrounding environment. And SDG 13 and 14, climate action and life on land, are much more related when you consider the wider spectrum of this project. I am particularly looking at production from the milk point of view, but as you'll see on the next slide, we've got a much larger project going on altogether. So the aim of this project is to be able to advise farmers, particularly within the UK, because it will vary depending on system, which system is best and which is best both environmentally and from a business point of view, because obviously we always have to consider that farming is a business and has to be sustainable for the people involved. And we're lucky here at Newcastle University. We are the agricultural college, but we are part of SNES, which is the School of Natural and Environmental Sciences, which means that we've also got ecological studies on mammal populations and bird populations and soil studies going on at the project at the same time, which gives us a more comprehensive study altogether. So hopefully that'll be good in the end. So yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Bethany. That was a great talk. Thank you so much for your presentation.